Hi, Anita. Welcome to Yachting USA.
Hey, Rick, how are you doing? Thank you so much for inviting me. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah.
I'm with Anita Rivera Turcotte.
Turcotte. Yes, Turcotte.
Thank you. Got it right. Almost. Close enough. Not close enough. Got to get it right.
You did
Good,
great.
good.
You did great.
You own Verge Yacht Design.
I do.
And we are in beautiful, sunny downtown Savannah, Georgia.
Not a bad day.
This
Pretty
is
nice
a
out here.
gorgeous day.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we decided to do this up on the upper deck of your new facility
Yeah.
because it is such a beautiful day. And you've got downtown historic Savannah right behind us.
Yeah.
And we've been here all week with the United States Super Yacht Association.
That's true.
USSA.
USSA.
It's been a week of highlighting Savannah as a destination for ship refitting, ship services, yacht design, yacht interior design.
Yep. Let's not forget that.
All of that. It's a beautiful city. It's a historic waterfront city with a maritime heritage and culture.
Yep.
I was reading on my walk this morning that the sailing ship Liberty was the first man of war built for the U.S. Navy during the Revolutionary War.
You got it.
Here in Savannah.
It's wild, isn't
that
it?
went into battle against the Brits
Yep.
successfully. And, you know, how cool is that? We're right here. Now, of course, we're also leading into the port. So we're going to get an occasional truck going by like right now that might, you know,
It's
filter
okay.
into our conversation.
I'm used to it. So,
But the port's cool too, because the port
neat.
is been expanded now for the big Panamax containers.
Yep.
It's the third largest port in the United States. Imagine that. I thought Miami maybe was, no.
Gotta
Miami,
beat.
Fort Lauderdale, guys, no, step back. This is number 3 behind, I think number 1 is still in Southern California and then New York.
Yep. For the
So,
time being.
For the time being.
Got some plans for this city for sure.
I love it. No, this is a cool city.
Yeah.
I've been coming here for a lot of years and doing business at both Thunderbolt Marine and Savannah Yachting Center. And even before Savannah Yachting Center, I was there when Intermarine was building there.
Yep.
So it's nice to kind of come home here and see this space.
That's great.
So we're going to talk about a lot of things. And of course, your business is one of those. You know, being here supporting the USSA, I had a nice podcast that'll come out here soon with the board of directors of the USSA. And I think you know I was at Thunderbolt this morning and I did an interview with Ernie, the president of Thunderbolt.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah. That facility is just beautiful.
Oh,
Stunning.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a destination, shipyard, repair, refit.
For sure.
The size of their lift, their ability to bring boats, sweet spot's good up to 50, maximum 60 meters.
That's correct.
But they've got it all there. They can do. They got an amazing paint
really
facility. They got a great joiner shop. Got all the machine shop and welding.
Upholstery even, which is you never see.
And this is important. We'll talk about this later. Crew accommodations.
Yes.
They have put some money and infrastructure in for crew.
Yeah.
I think that is so important.
It really is.
It is.
Yeah.
You know, there's a place for crew to go to kind of unwind, relax, you know, get off the boat and get away a little bit.
No, it's definitely needed.
Yeah. And it's in Thunderbolt, which is, you know, east of the city. Yep. It's its own little community.
It's not far.
No.
It's a fun community over there. I mean, it's what, 10, 12 minutes whenever you're coming through.
12
it's not
minutes
far.
away,
Yeah.
It's not downtown Savannah either.
No.
Yeah.
And you can still get downtown Savannah pretty easily. So it's great for crew too. When they have fun, you know, here, they can still go back to the vessel. It's easy.
Right.
Same with Savannah Yachting Center.
Yeah.
It's not far, but it's a completely different aesthetic. You saw it over there
totally.
too.
Savannah Yachting Center is an incredible shipyard.
Yep.
You know, kudos to Francois and everybody that took us through that shipyard yesterday.
Yeah.
You know, they've done a wonderful job of turning it into a large yacht facility. Incredible. Hopefully we'll be talking to them in the near future about what they're doing.
Yeah, that's great.
And what's also kind of fun is right across the river here. IGY.
This is brand new.
Brand new.
Yes.
You know, when's the last time you saw a brand new marina facility?
I'm telling you what, you know, it's funny. We'll get into design in a minute, but we actually are facilitating the design for their office spaces there at IGY. They asked us to help them. It's our first land project, I call it, but I'm really excited about this. We're going to have a lot of vessels come through, and it's a great destination. I mean, Savannah, as you saw this week, is a fun spot to be in.
Yeah, no, it really is. It's easy to come and go. The culture is warm. It's Southern hospitality. The food is amazing.
It's not bad.
The shrimp and grits, if you like that, you know, come on, that's all here. Yeah, it's got a nice vibe, nice culture, historical city. I love that part of it. I'm a huge student of history, and
That's great.
and it's a good place to be.
It's a great place to be.
If I had the opportunity, I'd build boats here because
Yeah.
it's so cool.
No, it's amazing.
It is really amazing. And of course, with what IGY's got going on, and there's strategic relationship there to help overflow with Savannah Yachting Center,
Yeah.
and puts you in a great spot in the middle of everything.
It does.
So, Anita,
Yeah.
talk to me. Where did you come from? How did you come into the wonderful world of yachting? There's always a backstory.
Yes,
What's your
no, no, no.
backstory?
My backstory is pretty interesting, actually. I'm excited that you asked. So I'm from North Carolina. I lived right outside of Pinehurst and then Wilmington as well. So kind of between both. So I grew up in the water, but also grew up in nature. I come from a military background, my family, and things of that sort. So in college, I decided to come to Savannah College of Art and Design, and I graduated with interior design, which is really interior architecture.
Yeah.
And so my first job out of college, I started engineering sport fishing equipment. So it was
sport fishing equipment.
Sport fishing equipment, yes.
Like
fighting chairs and launchers. The first time I saw them, I said, what is this spacecraft thing going on here?
Rocket launchers.
Yeah, rocket launchers, seriously.
Right, exactly.
Battle saddles and things of that sort. But no, it was the only job I could find in Savannah that, one, interested me because it talked about functionality.
Sure.
Two, that wanted to pay me a decent wage. And three, I wanted to stay in Savannah. And so finding a job here was actually kind of hard, to be honest. The school produces a lot of creatives. And to find a creative job, there's only so many. So long and short, I went to go work for Release Marine, and I stayed there for about 6 years.
Right.
I engineered sport fishing equipment for probably, I would say, maybe 3 years or so. Right. And then they were making tables. They had a second portion of their company called Marine Tables. And I remember, speaking to them and saying, hey, we can make some other furniture too, and started bringing in the interior design portion of it.
There you go.
So I would work with naval architects and interior designers like myself now,
right.
And I would help them develop furnishings based off of their plans, or they would give me their mood boards and things of that sort, and I would help them design furniture. And we would literally design it in the space in Rhino and Keyshot and renderings and things of that sort. And then I would walk out into the warehouse and the guys would put it together and I would watch the manufacture. So not only did I learn design, but I learned how to build something, which is really key, because I learned also that there's a difference between designing for fun and designing that can actually be built. So that's it changed my perception.
Isn't that so important?
Yeah.
You and I have something in common, and we touched on this earlier before this interview, in that I grew up in a space where I had to take industrial equipment such as cranes and make them into works of art that you would want to put on board a large luxury motor yacht where it's going to be visible to the eye.
Yeah.
It has to have the functionality, but it's got to have the aesthetic. It's got to fit with the space. And at the same time, working with naval architects and designers to figure out how to get it to fit into these spaces and do the job it's supposed to do. And, sometimes we talk about building out of materials like unobtainable. Yeah. And, because it is one of those reality checks that there's only so much you can do. And so by putting yourself in that manufacturing space opens your eyes.
It really did. And honestly, it propelled me into a different form of design, I would say. Okay. So I went more into the industrial. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But, we specialize in naval architecture and functional design for spaces. Right. I always say, let's make it functional first and make it work, and then we'll make it pretty. Making things pretty is actually the easy part, but the functionality is the hard part. And it's the puzzle piece to it, right? So if every inch doesn't work, something's wrong, Anyway, we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
But I worked at Release Marine for a little while, a couple of years, and then COVID hit. And I remember we actually, the company's thriving. Nothing really happened in Georgia. That's a whole nother conversation. But so the company's still thriving. But during COVID, I remember I was off for a couple of weeks, like let's say 3 weeks or a month. And I was just spinning my wheels, and I caught myself just designing spaces on my computer in Rhino. And I still was playing around, and I started designing interiors of boats. And then I made like an aft deck and just for fun, and then an interior for fun. And next thing you know, we're in a 30, 40 meter yacht, and I'm playing around. And I said, what am I doing? I need to take everything I've just learned, furniture design, and apply that to my background, which is interior architecture. And I started Verge.
So let me add some clarity to this too. So those listening to our conversation, when you say you designed in Rhino, you weren't at the local zoo. Rhino is a really cool 3D design program.
It is.
That allows you to work in specific spaces in 3 dimensions and develop surfaces that can become functional,
You got
and
it.
then oftentimes integrates into things like SolidWorks or
Yep.
AutoCAD or other ways.
That's
So you can
correct.
take the Rhino design and turn it into
You can turn it into an
numerical
as,
code that can go out
that's
into
correct.
the factory
Yep.
to be machined and
as built.
manufactured.
Yep,
Right.
that is correct. And that's something that we specialize here at Verge as well, which is we're not just, again, doing mood boards and coming up with
Not
renderings.
just pretty pictures.
Not just pretty pictures, but we're actually able to make a functional space that, then can be engineered and built. So yes, I appreciate you clarifying that. Sometimes I forget.
Well, it's in my world, and I'm very familiar with it, and
Yeah.
I recognize that people listen to this show come from all walks,
Yeah.
and so it adds a little more insight and color to what it is
Yeah.
you actually do.
Yeah.
So Verge,
Yes.
first of all, Verge,
Yes.
where's the name come from?
So I am always obsessed with bringing the exterior interior. So it's basically the verge of interior, bridging the gap between interior and exterior. So you're on the verge of exterior. That's where it
Okay.
came from.
All right, I like it.
Yeah. So no, that's one other thing that really specialize in design is I like to make a holistic spa oasis of some sorts. It's actually harder to build a design that you don't notice, I guess, right off the bat. But the goal is you're going to the most beautiful places on the planet. You have the most beautiful exterior views. Let's not distract from that. Let's
Right.
complement it.
Yeah, you're not competing with those views.
No competing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
I like
bringing
that.
exterior in is really that's my forte of design.
That's cool.
That's where it came from.
That's cool.
Yep.
When did you start Verge?
2021, right in the middle of COVID.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
during my time off, I played around a little bit in Rhino and then had this crazy idea, gave my employer 6-month notice.
6 months.
6 months.
That's very generous
Yes.
of you.
I didn't want to,
Burn bridges.
well, not only that, but I mean, it's hard to find the right person to do that job. And I just wanted them to use me for whatever I can and help train somebody else and get them on their feet.
Good.
Yeah.
I respect that a lot.
I hope that if that ever happens for us, somebody does that to me too. So
You know
karma's
what?
a big thing.
Yeah, there it is. Karma is a
Yeah.
good thing.
Yeah,
Or
but
she's
they
a
were,
bitch.
Yeah, yeah, well, it depends on. But no, I mean, we still work together. I actually still do projects. I buy bar stools from them. I promote their tables.
Good.
I still use them as much as I
Good.
can. So
Good.
they are local.
Right.
Yeah.
So when we walked up here,
yeah.
well, first of all, we are on the upper deck of the building
Yeah.
you just leased for your new offices.
Yes. Yes.
You're not completely moved in yet.
No, we moved in on Monday, and my super yacht event started on Tuesday.
Tuesday, aren't
so
you
it's
lucky?
It's
Yeah,
been yes.
timing. The sign's not even up
I'm
yet.
good. No.
I love it. But it's a beautiful facility. Your
Thank you.
office, when it's built out, is going to be stunning. No
Yes,
question about it.
I appreciate that.
But over our shoulder here, you were pointing out to a couple buildings in the backdrop that
Yeah.
were previous home bases for Verge.
Yeah. When I first started, we were actually the tallest building right there, so we could see the dome, the city hall right there. And then past, it's the Forrest Gump Square is where we were on our second hike for about 2 years. And then I found this space, and this is where we'll be for 3 years or so. And I've got plans to build something next.
Good
So
to have plans.
we're getting there.
Good
we're
to
getting
have
there.
plans.
Yep.
Absolutely. No, that's exciting. Talk to me about some of
Yeah.
the projects you've been involved in, and what does this
Yeah.
look like for you?
For sure.
I want to get into your head a little bit about these projects you do, and then we'll talk about where we're going to go in the future.
Yeah, no, great. I appreciate it. So we'll talk about how we started, right?
Please.
So 2021, I started my company. I actually started cold calling people and saying, hey, I'm back in this industry. Are you interested in doing some furniture design, maybe doing some interior? And it organically started to grow, which is great. I partnered with Savannah Yacht Center before it was bought out by Safe Harbor. Jim Bareilles was in charge.
Love
and
him.
Paul Godel, who's still there. And
Yep.
a great
George
Nick
Whitehouse was still there?
George Whitehouse was there. He's my buddy, and Alyssa. They're sweethearts. And Nick Eremick was there, who
Awesome.
now works with us as our naval architect.
Yes.
He was doing project management and naval architecture at the time. And there was a Fed ship that came through. The name was Lunacy, and he needed someone to help him with interiors. And I said, I can do interiors. And yeah, that was my first job. And I worked with Nick, and we facilitated an extensive refit.
Wow.
Yeah.
And now Nick's working with you.
Now Nick's working with me, but talk about diving in head first. I mean,
Yeah.
your first job, just going at it.
And that's Fed ship.
And it's Fed ship.
Boom.
But it was a great relationship with the crew. It was a great relationship with the yard. It was a really big, I felt like it was a family. Everybody was working towards making sure that the owner was happy from all aspects. And everybody knew too, I mean, not that it was a learning curve based off of what I was doing. Everything I was doing, we already knew how to do. But it was nice to work with that group of people. I mean, it really propelled my career as well, I feel like.
Right.
But it was just a good family-oriented relationship. So, and obviously, Nick and I, we worked together, and within the first week, I will never forget, we work well together. We just complement each other, working on structure versus interior. And at the end of that project, we both chatted about it. And I said, when I'm ready, I want you to come on board. And sure enough, it all worked out 4 years later, 5 years later, and here we are. So,
don't you love that?
Yeah, no, you find the right person.
When it was supposed to happen, it happens.
It did, yeah. Don't force it, but yeah, no, I'm really excited. So from there, our next project, we worked on a 55-meter AMLs, and we did an extensive refit that took over a year, and we were working in Thunderbolt Marine, so I have a good relationship with them as well.
Great yard.
Yeah, great yard. And then from there, we've done a couple of refits. We're getting into a couple of new builds at this point, conceptual designs as well with some great naval architects. I mean, the goal really is to keep moving. I personally love extensive refits, and I'm glad I started on that side versus new builds.
Right.
Because you really learn how everything ticks. And when you're dealing with a different design, somebody else wants to change, you have to play the puzzle. It's going back to engineer, going back to what can we do to salvage, not waste money, not waste time, but still make it aesthetically different.
So in some cases, you go in and you see the built-in furniture and say, well, we can go ahead and put new finishes on this, new hardware on this. We can turn it into something more modern, but you keep the skeletal DNA intact.
The bones are still there.
The bones are still there, right? Yeah.
Because sometimes you don't have the time and you don't have the money, right?
But that's true.
Get in, get out. And I mean, even here with refits that come into the yards, if you plan it properly, right? If you get a call.
What, a refit?
Give me a heads up. Give me 3 months before you get here.
Thank you.
And we can plan it out. And, Nick, he did project management at SYC, but he's also does it with us now. I mean, it's easy. You can actually get something done really quickly if you plan.
The inside joke there, by the way, is that when you're in the refit business, one of the biggest mistakes that is made and continues to be made, and it floors me that this mistake is so frequently made, is people bringing the boat to the shipyard and saying, here I am, let's go.
Yeah.
And you say, well, where's your plan? Oh, we're putting it together now. And you've wasted so much time and money.
Shot yourself in the foot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the smart people do 3, 4, 6 months in advance, to the point of buying materials and placing orders for long lead time items, and all of that's done.
Easy.
So when the boat comes to the yard, so do all of everything else. And it starts to come together. Yeah.
And you keep people employed and you keep people on a schedule. And honestly, it's just, the owners are happy, the captains are happy, the crew's happy. You're actually moving. You're not spending your first month talking about measurements and, oh, well, what fabric should we pick? Or, if we have time in the budget, can we change this overhead? None of that. It's already planned and ready to go. Yeah.
Or you show up and all of a sudden it's like, oh, that fabric's been discontinued.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So that's brilliant. And then that's experience talking. That's experience talking. That's important.
Well, it's the hurry up and wait type thing. And I don't. You know me now. We've known each other pretty well from this event, this USSA event. I don't sit still.
A lot of conversations.
I like to move. So let's get a schedule, let's get a plan, and let's get to work.
Yeah, no, I like that. And by the way, full credit where credit is due. We had this USSA event.
Yeah.
You were instrumental in bringing it all together. You put the spotlight on Savannah. Why do I have Seattle in my mind?
I haven't been to Seattle yet. I want to go there.
Actually, there's places in Seattle like this.
Really?
Yeah, little lofty areas and stuff
go.
like that. But Savannah, and you really did a good job of helping bring it all together. I watched that happen, and us coming in with Yachting USA and what we tried to do, you helped facilitate some of the stuff we did. So I have a debt of gratitude for you for that.
Than't you for saying that. I
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
And through that, I saw your leadership. I saw your organization. I thought it was great.
Thank you.
It's true.
It was a wild idea I had last. I'll tell you the story real quick about USSA. It's a wild idea I had last. Where were we? I think Newport, Rhode Island, at the charter show. Nick and I were there, and Kitty was running the event. There was a USSA event at the time, and we sponsored. It was a small little sponsorship, but it was fun. It was cute. It was at the Newport Safe Harbor up there. And I had just met Kitty, and I said, Kitty, I think I'd like to have an event like this in Savannah. And she's like, oh, I think that's a great idea. Put it together.
Put it together.
And so I put it together, and I came to the board. I think this is in October, and everybody said, "Oh, that's a good idea. Can you actually get it done?" And then, we've been working with Frank lately, and then Tom McGowan and Joe and everybody. So we were working with that side of the board and everything. And here's our plan. And they're like, Okay, sounds like you guys have it. But honestly, this is our city. I've been here for 15 years. I used to work in the hospitality industry, so this was kind of easy for me.
Right.
I bartended when I was in college. Don't tell anyone. But
Hey, you got to find your beer money
was fun.
somewhere,
Yeah,
right?
somebody had to do it. No, it was great. I had a lot of fun in college. But yeah, no, I mean, it was, Savannah's such an amazing city. I mean, we've got SCAD here, which I went to school at, like I told you.
Yes, tell us what SCAD is. I know.
Oh, I'm sorry, but Savannah College of Art and Design.
Right.
It's an amazing university for creatives. There's actually a marine design department there that Nick and I are professional mentors or
Wonderful.
So we get our students from there and they're interns and then we hire them. So it actually works out pretty well. But no, I did an interior design. They have architecture, they have painting, graphic design, sustainability design. It's really neat what they have. Industrial furniture, which you met Fred Spector, the chair, yesterday. But yeah, I mean, Savannah really is a beautiful place. And with IGY opening up across the river, you know, the 2 yards here, ports here, we have Gulfstream here as well, which is also in the luxury sector.
Yeah, they built some cool jets.
Plenty to do. Yes, really cool jets. Plenty to do here too. I mean, I find that when crews come, they have a good time in Savannah. It's off the beaten path a little bit, not too hard to get here. Yeah.
So how important is it the crew have good time?
I mean, if they're having fun, then they're not arguing, they're upset. If the crew's happy, captain's happy, everybody's moving.
Yeah.
So no, I mean, I think it's important for crew to be happy. I actually take that to heart even in my designs. I always say that I like to design for captain and crew first and then make it pretty guest second. But it's not that the guest is less important by any means, because this is all for them. But I find that if you can make a functional design first, it all works, and the owners end up being happier because everybody's happy. We've got storage, you know, we've got wayfinding. How do they, you know, you've got two basically crews, guests and crew, coexisting together. They have to find a way to coexist and have a holistic design. So yeah.
No, having spent some time in yacht management and having been involved in new build construction and yacht design for decades, I will tell you that, you know, crew has almost always been almost an afterthought in a lot of yacht design. And some of the spaces that I've seen on some of the boats reserved for crew they're horrible, actually. You know, you look at that and you say, we're gonna live in this space for indefinite periods of time. Remember, there is no second shift on a yacht.
No.
You know, you've got a crew that runs that boat, and that boat is in the water 24/7. It doesn't go in the hangar and get put away at the end of a flight like a private aircraft does.
Yeah.
You know, it's full on. So when I talk to owners in conversations about their yachting experience and what they want or why they're coming in or why they're leaving the industry, it is so frequently about experience with crew. It's suboptimal experience with the crew.
Yeah.
And it's not truly the crew's fault. It's that, you know, they're put in a very tenuous situation.
Yes.
Very small, confined spaces, not a lot of opportunity to, you know, find any free time or decompress.
Yeah.
So when you can design around that, I was mentioning to you, I was in Amsterdam in November, and Tristan and I were invited to come out to the Van Lent shipyard. Yeah. And we saw the 119 meter breakthrough, beautiful hybrid technology fed ship.
Yeah. I was there as well.
It was an incredible boat.
Yeah.
The crew accommodation, of course, this is a 119 meter boat.
Yeah.
You know, so let's put it in perspective. You know, it's 360 feet, something like that. It's a big boat.
Yeah.
But there's 2 decks, and each crew cabin looked like a small hotel suite. You know, there was literally room on the floor to do Pilates if you wanted to.
Wow. Yeah. Not a bad place to live.
Now, you know, all I'm saying is it's in proportion to the vessel.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of crew in that vessel, 40 some, I believe, maybe even over 50 actually. So that's a lot of people to keep happy.
Yeah.
But that's the mindset. I think even when you're designing around a smaller boat, if you can find ways to create a space for crew to live instead of just exist, then I think the owner's experience gets better.
It is. I think my background, honestly, working in the service industry, working at, you know, bartending behind the scenes, you realize real quick that there's a lot of movement back there. And if it's not a well-designed plan, if you don't have great space planning, it's just not going to work for your guests at all.
No.
And so bringing that in, also, I think working in the sport fishing world, which goes back, I mean, you know sport fishing boats.
Oh, yeah.
every inch has to make sense.
Yep.
Everything. You know, you don't have storage.
No,
You've got movement.
It's
You've
all
got the
about
boat,
efficiency.
you know, moving around. You've got to make sure nobody gets hurt. And so I think bringing those concepts into even larger vessels, no matter what scale they are, and, you know, crew or guest, you just have to make a holistic, functional space first.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
And so that's in your DNA.
If it wasn't, I would be completely bored. You know, if I was just picking fabrics and furniture,
Right.
it has to make sense.
No,
We have to engineer
this
it.
is cool. So you know, when I talk about Verge, I'm going to refrain from using that prerogative of interior desecrator.
Yes. Oh, don't do that. Don't do that. No.
But you know,
But so many times they
historically
come.
they come in and they don't really know what they're doing or what they're talking about,
Yeah.
and they just want to put their pretty finishes in,
No.
and they ignore the functionality that has to happen.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we are evolving as an industry, and it's cool to see the interior side of that evolving right along with everything else.
No, it should. And honestly, I mean, hiring Nick on board and getting the naval architecture stamp on was really for that exact reason, right? So, you know, it's a credible source at this point. You know, we're not just saying that, we're actually doing it.
Right.
And then too, I'll be honest, I'm not a naval architect. I've come to with ideas before and Nick says, that's not going to work. Let's do it again, you know? So, I mean, I have to have my safeguards too. It's not just we're out in left field just coming up with crazy designs. It takes a team.
And I assume Nick brings things such as material selection and weight reduction and all of that into the conversation.
100%, yeah. Anything exterior, I mean, we'll do modeling of furnishings and things of that sort, but anything outside of that, it's his wheelhouse. I don't even pretend to play in that world.
Gotcha.
Yeah. He knows his stuff.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Built-in or freestanding?
Oh, don't ask. Okay, how about we do both? How about we make it look like it's built in, but it's freestanding?
Okay.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
You can do that.
I get it. You want to get through class a little faster. You don't want to wait for me. I got it. It's no problem.
No, it's just, you know, when you look at boat design and interior design and all of that, when you see some of the built-in stuff, it's amazing. But then you realize now you're there.
Yeah.
Very little latitude for change.
Yeah.
You know, when you're able to do more of an open space concept with freestanding furniture that can move around or change over time, it's a different conversation, right?
Yeah. And remembering too, understanding what you want to do in that space too. So you can always design for them to be modular or move around as well.
Right.
So, and then get them off site. Also, it really depends. I mean, I told you we're designing a furniture line with another brand, a high reputable brand. So if it's my furniture, then we'll do freestanding all day. You know?
Of course. Here's another question for you. Private yacht, charter yacht?
That's a hard one. Of course, everybody loves private because you have a customer and you know that customer, that client in and out, and you can design specific for them. And that could be anything. I mean, any aspect. But I really love charter because you have to design for the masses and you have to think, you know, we have 4 guests, do we have 16 guests, do we have 12 guests, you know, are there kids on board, are there adults? It's just, again, I just like to make things more complex, I guess, and I like
more use, more turnover.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't put a beautiful white carpeting into a charter yacht.
You could if you don't use silk. Let's use acrylic dyed solution and it's white, and then you can throw bleach on it, or well, not that you use bleach. You can throw red wine on it and it won't absorb it. So
that was going with that.
Yes, you could put white, but
Yeah, no, that's...
You have to know your materials.
Yeah, well, to imagine that.
But yeah, I mean, to say that too, you know, when you deal with a private sector, you can use fine materials. You know, when you use charter, it's a little bit different. You know, you just have to accommodate.
Well, you want the crew to be able to clean up efficiently too and keep the boat looking new in spite of the fact they're having way more traffic than you typically have in a private yacht, right?
Correct, Don't make it hard for the crew. Let's make it as easy as possible, which means let's not, you know, pick silk on the carpet.
Do you bring your designs to the exterior? Are you working on like beach club spaces or foredeck spaces or other pieces of the boat?
Of course, yeah. Going back to the name Verge, you know, I really love the exterior portion of it. So we try to bring everything through the vessel. So
Good.
Yeah.
Good. So Anita, what's next for Verge? What do you see in your future?
Oh, who knows? Continuing to build, continuing to design, continuing to grow. You know, we have, like I said, we've got SCAD here, so continuing to move the team. Who knows, maybe new manufacturing in the United States? I don't know. We'll see what happens, but
that would be cool.
Definitely getting into a little bit of new builds, definitely getting into a little bit of work here in the States.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it.
Yeah. Well, you know, I talk a lot about that. I think, you know, we've lost so much boat building in the United States, and I think we're at a turning point, I hope, where the industry is ripe for a reinvention
Yeah.
of yacht construction
Yeah.
here. The refit facilities around here are phenomenal.
They
And when
are.
you look at, the appetite for yachting,
Yeah.
I saw a report earlier this week, actually it came out of Europe, but it was talking about the fleet and that they expect between now and 2040,
Okay.
the fleet of yachts to double in size.
I'm not
Now,
surprised.
yeah, and think about what that
Yeah.
really means, and how do you meet that demand?
Yeah.
And it can't be met with the current number of shipyards that exist or the current number of marinas that exist.
Yeah.
So, like what IGY has done across the river,
Yes.
that needs to replicate over
Correct.
time to accommodate the fleet. And I think when you understand that 60 to 75% of all of the yacht owners that are buying yachts are Americans, would make sense that they have the opportunity and option to come to the United
Yeah.
States to have some of their boats built.
I agree. And also, thinking about warranty works, collaborating with other yards overseas. If we have something here, I mean, Fedship has a slip here.
Yeah, they do.
That's a great resource for them as well as us in working together.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hasten's got a facility down in Ibovich.
That's correct.
Yeah. And so these synergetic relationships are so
Yeah.
important, and they repeat.
No, I mean, I think the demand is here. Not a lot of people know about this industry in terms of, naval architecture and interior design for specifically the marine industry.
Right.
So I see it growing, and I'm excited for it. There's a lot of young minds that are interested in it. Like I said, we mentor the marine design department, and
That's
the kids are learning, and they're going to need places to go.
Well, and we're going to need them too,
Yeah,
because
we do.
we need to renew the workforce. We need to be able to bring in new blood, new ideas to keep it vibrant and cutting edge.
Yeah, we have to.
I like it.
I'm excited for it.
I like it. I'm excited too. I'm excited to see what happens with Verge in the future.
Thank you. I
And
appreciate it.
for future collaborations with you guys.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, Rick.
No, I appreciate the opportunity to sit here with you this beautiful afternoon and get to know your company a little bit better and share it with the rest of the world.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for it too, and I appreciate your support.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. You got
Awesome.
it. All right. Anita, thank you so much
Thank
for
you
joining
so
Yachting
much. I
USA. It's
appreciate
been a
it.
real pleasure.
Yeah.
And until the next time,
Yeah.
I'm out of here.